the sort of nefarious at this point polyhack continues its own ongoing saga here, with the hacker now holding millions of dollars hostage, even after the Poly Network team said that they paid him the bug bounty of about $500,000 and saw those funds move on chain. So this is an interesting situation for all the other reasons we've talked about, but it seems now that the hacker's holding back and says he might delay the return of all of the funds until potentially even next week. So, David, I'd be curious to get your initial thoughts on this as this yarn just keeps unwinding, or some other metaphor about this than continuing to happen.
David
is muted. So actually, Will, talking to you.
Just muted.
No, sorry. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. So the whole situation is so wild and weird because, I've sort of been imposing a narrative on it where this hacker basically, we don't know for sure, but it appears quite likely they would not have been able to liquidate their holdings. And what seems to be happening is maybe they're trying to redeem some kind of reputation out of that. The other thesis, and this is strictly a conspiracy theory, but there have been people spreading the idea that Poly is somehow involved, and this is kind of a marketing stunt. But this now seems to, at least for the moment, put the lie to that because they're not getting the money back. But this guy is playing such an interesting and kind of dangerous game where he's like, oh, I'm Mr. White Hat. I'm a good guy. I was just here to figure out what was going on with the network. But like every time there's a delay on the return, that which I think there was not that much reason to believe that in the first place, that erodes. And whoever this is, if it ever gets found out, like they have a path right now towards some kind of respectability. Maybe if they actually go through with this, they could potentially still be part of this community. But they're wearing that welcome mat thin every moment that this goes on. And it's really going to be interesting to figure out what the actual motivations, what the backroom processes were once this all unwinds. But Ben, you want to take it back?
Yeah, I feel like anybody calling themselves Mr. White Hat, that's like an initial red flag. If you got to like say that, then it shows that your actions might be speaking
clear,
otherwise.
Poly called him that first. Poly
Fair.
kind of tried to honey him up a little bit by calling him that, and then he adopted it. But
yeah, it's a weird narrative game that's being played here too, right? Like there's the hack itself, and then there's all this extraneous stuff that's happening now in regards to it in terms of shaping. David, as you mentioned, like, oh no, I was doing this to be helpful, like all these other sorts of things. I just find it really, really troubling and very odd. And I think that when you talk about like the reputational aspect in terms of even if this is ostensibly, I'm going to just say gray hat hacker at best. I think that, when we first started talking about this hack itself, we saw people like kind of cheering him on in the comments. So I wonder how much, maybe the reputation is not so much at stake. Maybe he is returning stuff, but it seems like, this person does have fans out there, even if they were, in it for their own self-gain and saying like, hey, throw me a few pennies. But Naomi, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt. So they, late yesterday, they signed a message. They said, please be patient. Just signed transactions of USDC and DAI a few hours ago. I can't imagine that what they're doing is easy, right? I can't imagine that trying to send these funds around and remain anonymous is a simple task. I think about some of the things that my friends go through when they're sending transactions just because they're interested in privacy of their own transactions. They're not even they're not dealing with stolen funds or anything like that. And it's rigorous. Having privacy is difficult. And so I can't imagine that this is an easy thing that's going to happen quickly. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. At the end of the day, we can make as many guesses as we can about their motivation and about whether they're nefarious or whatever, but all we can really judge are their actions at the end of it. So if they are returning the funds, great, white hat hacker. Maybe there are some that are more grounded in like a good-natured philosophy of doing good work. But this guy, whether he was coaxed into it, whether he was honeyed up and encouraged by the community, and this wasn't his initial intent, at the end of the day, let's judge him by his actions. So I'm interested to see what happens here. I don't think that he's going to run away with the funds. That's just my guess, but we don't know. We got to wait and see.